Hey everybody, welcome back to Board Game Blender. My name is Zee Garcia, and today we are off to the races. Before I let the show speed away though, I want to give a big shout out to Douglas Morse and tell you to go check out the next great American game, a movie tailor-made for us tabletop geeks. It's all about a man following his dream, and you can go check out the trailer at tabletopmovie.com. So go check that out, and thank you Douglas Morse for supporting our show. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. All right, I'm going to wind this bad boy up and let him go. Enjoy the show.
Hey folks, welcome back to another segment of Real Talk with Sam. And today on the Blender, we're talking about racing games, y'all. So what I'd like to do is actually give you two games that I really enjoy that are both heavy on the racing aspect. I'm going to go with an old copy of a game that has been in my collection for quite some time, and I've enjoyed it for a very long time. And then I'd like to also give you a new copy of a game that just recently came into my collection, and I really enjoy it a lot. First off, the old. I'm going to respect the age, and that is Formula D. Now this used to be called Formula Day before they gave it a reskin and a couple of different options of doing street racing and that type of thing. But basically, as you can see, Formula Racing, and it's just one of those games that just kind of stick to you. It's not a difficult game at all. There isn't a whole lot of thinking in it. It's just fun because you're chucking dice, you're trying to weave your way in and out of the lanes of traffic on the racetrack, and you're trying to get out in front, pushing your car to the ultimate limit, but then you push it a little bit too far and you lose some brake points over here, you lose some tire points over here, you lose some engine points over here, and pretty soon you're like a jalopy trying to crawl across the finish line if you push yourself just too hard. Then they added in the street racing version, which I'm not too keen on. I thought I would be, but I've always just played the basic Formula racing car. I love the tracks from the different cities. I have a few different ones, one from Chicago, and I can't remember the other one right now. But anyway, really have enjoyed this game over a long period of time. This is one of my personal evergreens. I just really enjoyed this game. That's Formula D from Asmodee. Then, brand spanking new, out of the gates comes this big guy right here from Roxley Games, Steampunk Rally. One of my favorite newer games that is a racing theme. And that's why I had to talk about it. I told Z I was just going to talk about Formula D, but I'm going to sneak this one in here because I thought of this after I talked to him. Steampunk Rally, first of all, I love the theme. Not so keen on the steampunk aspect of it, but the part where we're taking historical people and inventors and that type of thing, and putting them in a race through the Alps, and they have to come up with these different contraptions that are going to race them through this path that go through the Alps. I love that theme. I just thought it was really great. The racing through the course, how some places you're going to be taking damage, other places you're going to have a little bit of a special ability that you can use to kind of better your position. It's just a really cool racing idea with a sleek design, and I love the dice. This thing comes with no less 108 dice, y'all. It's just a really fun game. I've really enjoyed it, and so it had to be part of my segment today. So listen, racing is a cool mechanic, very fun. Usually racing games are something that I kind of gravitate towards, not always, because they're kind of hit and miss for me. But the two that I've mentioned today, Formula D from Asmodee and Steampunk Rally from Roxley Games, they're both off the charts. Cool, fun. Go check them out. And listen, I'm just trying to keep it real, y'all. So why don't you back up off me?
everybody. When I thought about racing games, I thought, I'm not really a racing game fan. But then I went and looked at my collection and I thought, oh, maybe I like racing games more than I realized. I had a choice to make, and I decided I wanted to focus on Thunder Alley from GMT Games. Did I pick this game because I'm a huge NASCAR fan? No. Did I pick this game because I'm a huge GMT Games fan? Not really. I actually picked Thunder Alley because I think as a racing game, it encapsulates so many qualities good racing games should have. Thunder Alley, which NASCAR should totally grant a marketing license to, has you controlling a team of race cars as you vie for position. Cards determine your movement. Movement often causes wear or damage to your cars, and each lap is capped by an event that can really turn the race on its head. Managing your hand of cards and knowing when to play one and on which car you played on during that lap is critical to ensuring your cars are in the lead, or at least in the pack. And being in the pack is so important because of the best mechanism and the thing that makes this game so thematic, drafting. There's some solo movement you can do, but Thunder Alley is all about the drafting. Cards will let you lead, pursue, or do an all-over draft movement. Not only does this mimic real-life racing, it also makes you think about how you position your cars and how you can try to make them work together in a way no other racing game I've played does. This also means your cars are often moving around the track even during other players' turns, which really keeps you engaged in thinking through scenarios the whole game. Depending on your play group, there's a great negotiation element as well. Trading drafting favors and seeing if you can talk your way into better pack position really enhances the gameplay. Also, making racing noises as you play is basically mandatory for true game enjoyment. And because the game grants points based on position, even if you're not leading the race, you can still win the game, which adds a whole different angle to how you strategize. But of course, you can't strategize around the events. You just kind of have to hope it doesn't really hose your race. Can events be frustrating? Totally, so much of this. But again, it's fairly thematic and kind of exciting. I've never been to a car race before, so I can't say from personal experience if Thunder Alley authentically captures the feel of a real race, but it sure feels that way to me because it's exciting and engaging. Imagine if you just add beer and some fried food, it would be just like watching a real race. Fried food. Whether you're a racing fan or not, or a racing game fan or not, definitely check out Thunder Alley because it has a great balance of tactical card play, hand management, negotiation, and theme. And those are qualities almost every board gamer appreciates.
Hello, friends of the blend, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Off to the races! Today we're talking about Dungeon Dice, published in 1977 by Parker Brothers. This is a race-like game in which you're trying to be the first player out of the dungeon. Can you please stop racing your cars until after I get done with my segment? Thank you. Let me set this up and show you how it works.
This game is for 2 to 4 players. To start the game, everybody's going to get one of these cards to put right here at their start space. Now what you're trying to do out of these 6 dice is make matches of symbols here. Now the symbols don't really matter what they are, you're just trying to make matches, except for the guard symbol, which I explain a little bit later. So in order to get the tunnel cards that you need to get out, which are right here, you need to make at least 3 matches. 3 matches will get you 1 tunnel card. 4 matches will get you 2 tunnel cards. 5 matches will get you 3 tunnel cards. And 6 matches will get you 4 tunnel cards. So you're going to go ahead and roll the dice. And you have to take all the matches that you made out onto the walls here. So I got 2 ladders and 2 keys. Now remember, I need at least 1 more for each one to gain a tunnel card. So I'll roll again. And I got another key. And 1 last roll. And a shovel, which means nothing. So I did 3 matches. I will obtain 1 tunnel card. Now at this point I can either decide to continue to roll to get more tunnel cards or stop my turn, and then score my tunnel card, which means putting it right there in the space and advancing my man forward. Now, if I keep going, if at any time I roll 3 guard symbols, that means my turn is immediately over, and I must give up every tunnel card that I've gotten that turn, and also give up 1 tunnel card that's already on the board. Now, there's a way to challenge a player if he seems that he's going to get ready to win. You just say, hey, I'm going to challenge you, and the object of the challenge is to get 3 of these guard symbols in 3 rolls. Now, once you do that, you steal 1 of his cards and put it on your own path. You can continue to do that as long as you win each challenge. Now, to win the game, all you have to do is get this card all the way off the board. First player that does that wins the game.
What a great game to play as a filler before your big game starts. This game only takes about 20 to 25 minutes to play, and it can be enjoyed by all, even non-gamers. Well, that's all the time I have for you. May your rolls be high!
Hey guys, Anne here, and welcome to Art Thoughts with Anno, a brand new segment here on The Blend. Now, I know what you're thinking, art can be incredibly subjective, so bear with me here. My goal for this segment is to help us all be able to discuss and describe board game art in a more well-rounded way. Think less, I like it or I don't like it, and more of the why. When I was in school, we were taught 4 different components of a critique. The first 2 are describing and analyzing. These are your more objective ways of looking at art. And then the second 2 are interpreting or judging, your more subjective side of things. Over the next few months, I'm going to be focusing on the first 2. We'll be using the elements and principles of design, and each segment I'll pick 1 game that fits with the theme of Blender and 1 principle or element of design. I'll walk you through what the element or principle is, and then we'll see whether it can or maybe can't be seen in the game. The elements of design include line, shape, form, value, texture, and color. The principles of design are harmony, variety, balance, movement, dominance, proportion, and economy. Since this week's Blender theme was off to the races, I thought it would be fitting to start with the principle of movement. And of course, the game Steampunk Rally came to my mind. It's a game we recently reviewed, and it's a newly released Kickstarter game from Orin Bishop and Roxley Games. So let's take a look at movement. Movement has everything to do with how our eyes move across a design. Think of a trip or the visual roadways. As you'll see in this example, movement can be straight or it can be curved. It can be implied, like you see here, or it can be explicit. It can even be kinetic, meaning that things are physically moving in space. Think of movement as where your eyes begin, where your eyes end, and the visual pathways in between. Movement is an incredibly important thing for a racing game because generally the goal of a racing game is to move along a racetrack and be the first one to the finish line. Lina Cosette and David Forrest did a great job of incorporating this principle into Steampunk Rally. If you look at the board itself, it has a start, it has an end, and throughout the game you're moving your piece forward a little bit closer to the finish line. The cards, even the choice of components, you've got rocket boosters, you've got penny farthings. If you look at the illustrations, the rocket boosters are sending fire out the back of your contraption and the penny farthings stirring up dust as it pushes you along. Also, the cards have arrows pointing from the dice to the action. So it's basically a way to remind you, first you're going to roll and place your dice into the dice slots, and then you're awarded this action that is indicated on the card. The use of cogs was a great addition. So it brings the theme together, the race and the steampunk, cogs and gears and moving, and all of it's working together on the contraption that you're building to get you to the finish line. If you look at the damage marker, this is where your kinetic movement is coming into play. So you're going to be turning the dial up and down, hopefully keeping your contraption from exploding and blowing up. And even on the damage marker itself, there's cogs and gears, and you can see that the thing is turning and hopefully working for your advantage. Even the first person marker has an arrow on it. This is something that you flip, and it's a small detail, but it's showing the movement that the turns are going to go around the table in that order. So all these choices, little details, but they work together. And because this principle of design is incorporated so well, all of it gives you that feeling that you're moving, that you're in a hurry to the finish line. So I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more about movement, and maybe you'll be able to spot it in other games. Next time, I'll pick one more principle and relate it to a game that I'm thankful for. Until then, we'll see you at the table.
Hey everybody, for today's Quirky Game, we are taking a look at a racing game of which just about every aspect is quirky. I'm talking about Wicked Witch's Way here, and starting with the packaging, already you can tell that this is a very peculiar game. Obviously it looks like a book, it has a latch in fact, and it'll come open like a book. And inside there is what basically will act as a dice tray, and this flap. There are more components in here, but I've removed them to show you the dice. And so the packaging is quirky, the theme is quirky. You are racing witches. Why witches would need to race, I don't know. And clearly some of these are not witches. I mean, this character here is clearly several goblins pretending to be a witch. And there is this one witch, where is she? There she is, who clearly has an engine block hanging out the back of her broom. I don't know about that. That's a grease monkey witch. I don't know. The game is, again, a race game, and the way you move is also pretty peculiar and goes like this, basically. These dice are going to be gathered by one player. They're going to be shook up a bit, and then we're going to toss them in that tray. Now, the part which follows is basically a speed element in which you have to look at all these dice and figure out what the magical spell, the potion is. And the way that works is any symbol that shows up on both orange and black faces is eliminated from the spell, from the correct code, basically. And there's going to be possibly a black spell and an orange spell. And then, when anybody thinks they've figured this stuff out, and again, this is all real time, you don't actually get to manipulate these dice, and so we're going to do this. Everybody then stares frantically trying to figure this thing out. And then when somebody thinks they have it, they grab the flap and they close the book. And everybody grinds their teeth and goes, I needed 3 more seconds. And then you take your cards for your witch and you pick either the orange or the black spell, the one you were able to decipher, and then you figure out what cards made up that spell. You pick those, you play them, and then depending on how right you are going to move on the track. If you get a perfect spell in one of the 2 colors, you're going to move some extra spaces. If you get a perfect spell in the other color, you are in fact going to get some bonus cards. And these add a nice amount to the game as well. These have things like extra points at the end of the game, magical effects. For example, there's one that says you can play it after someone's close to the book and give yourself a few extra seconds, which, believe me, is a nice spell to have. And so this is a really quirky game. It's a bizarre game. Just the book sitting on the shelf is going to draw attention, and then you pull this out and you show people what the theme is, and already they're going, oh, I want that witch. And then the way in which you actually move in this racing game is crazy. I've seen no other game that's really quite like this when it comes to the combination of speed and movement and special effects on those cards, and it's all a race game. And so I wanted to highlight it. If you haven't checked it out, I think it's a really neat, quirky racing game. Look into it, folks. Wicked Witch's Way.
Today was a tough day. We were attacked by a polar bear and we lost Michelle. So we are camping now and resting a bit before tomorrow we proceed our race to North Pole. It's a game by two young Finnish designers, Jouni Jussila and Tommi Vainikka. And the game is in the beginning of 20th century when North Pole is not yet discovered, and people are racing to be the first ones to have their name in the history. So you have your group expedition and you try to get through the board to the center, to the North Pole. But you know, Arctic weather is really unpredictable. There are constant storms hitting you, and each time you need to adapt to new weather conditions, new geographical layout. And don't forget, you always have rivals who play nasty tricks on you because, you know, all want to be the first ones.
Yeah, the rules are really simple in this game. You just play a movement card, one of the 3 movement cards that are in front of you, and then you move your pawn according to the movement card. You can attack other opponents. You can go through cracks if you have special equipment. You can go and hide into igloo so no one can attack you, and so on. You're trying to get to the center. It's like a real maze that or labyrinth that you want to go through.
The coolest feature of the game is its rotating board and the transparent plastic pieces. So each time storm hits you, the board will be rotated and the cracks will form a new maze. Additionally, new action cards will be in front of you. So these are the actions that you can take this turn.
Yeah, there's an app that helps you track the storm. But the thing is that the app makes the storm and the game more random. If you're fine with that, if you're fine with the board and the game constantly changing, and you're fine with adapting to that, then this game is cool. You will be fine with that game.
I would say additional, this kind of perfect game for families. It's fun, easy to understand, and it's extremely fun actually. We were laughing almost constantly while playing the game.
Although it has to take that moment when it depends on your children. If you play with the children, you can eat their pawns with the bear.
Yeah, and you can kill the bear with a snowball.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
That's the thing. So that's what makes this game also great for gamers who love random games also. That it has these take that moments that you can screw with your opponents. You can do something against your opponent, not just race peacefully to the North Pole.
And you actually can team up as well and form the teams.
Yeah, there is a team variant. I hope they will get more rules to that also. So that's the race to North Pole. If you like it, but you want to know some more about this game, you should check out our full review of this game on our YouTube channel. So go there, check it out, and we see you next time.
Bye!
Yay! Finally, I have arrived! I'm the first one! Wait. How do I get out of here?
Hey folks,
I'm Rebecca.
and I'm Hunter.
And welcome to R vs. H 2-Player Showdown. The purpose of 2-Player Showdown is to show you different 2-player games and 2-player variants on multiplayer games and how the 2-player variant compares to the multiplayer experience.
This week's Board Game Blender is about racing games. And traditional racing games are simple roll-and-move games, but modern board games put another layer of strategy on top of that to make it more interesting. And for this week's episode, we've decided to highlight Camel Up.
Cup is a 2 to 8 player game. It's a lightweight family game, and it lasts about 30 minutes. What I like about the game is its general appeal to all ages. It's very brightly colored. As you can see, the pieces are really well made and very sturdy, and it's got this unique little pyramid that you use to roll the dice with.
On Camel Cup, you really only have 1 of 4 decisions to make on your turn. You can either use the pyramid to roll the dice, as she said. You can bet on who you think is going to win in the individual legs of the race, and you can bet on the overall winner or loser of the race. So what do you like most about 2-player Camel Up compared to multiplayer Camel Up?
Well, what I like best about 2-player Camel Cup versus the multiplayer is that it goes a lot more quickly. The box says 30 minutes on here, but with 2 players it goes much more quickly. And we have more options.
Yeah, with the multiplayer game, with especially the high player counts, you might only get one turn on each leg of the race, whereas with a 2-player game, you may get 4, even 5 turns on each leg of the race, which makes the game more interesting. You feel more involved. And at a high player count, you might not even get a turn if they all decide to roll the dice for some reason.
You also miss a little bit of the party atmosphere with 2 players versus the full contingent of 8 players. But who says that you can't have a party with just 2 people? So in summation, I would say that Camel Cup's a great addition to any game collection.
Camel Up.
Okay, let's settle this right now. It's Camel Cup.
Camel Up. Up. Up.
Camel Cup.
Up.
Camel Cup. Anyway, thank you so much for
Go
joining us
catchphrase!
today.
Hey everybody, my designer spotlight this week is on David Short. He is a great designer and has designed 2 games that I really like that are racing style games. One of which is Planes and the other one is Automobiles. They are both in the series Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from AEG, but what I like is that he used 2 different mechanics to do your racing. In Planes, you're using a Mancala mechanic where you Mancala your pieces around the board and try to get them onto the different planes in as quick a manner as possible. While in Automobiles, you're using a bag building mechanic to bag build and get your pieces, and you're actually racing around a track. Both of these are really, really good games. They give a different kind of feel of racing with different mechanics, but if you're looking for a good designer who can do racing games, it's definitely David Short.
Hey everybody, for today's Under the Radar segment, I'm taking a look at Power Boats. Power Boats is a favorite of mine. It's a racing game I really, really adore, and it's really not ranked that low. On Board Game Geek, it's in the 900s, which is pretty good. But I've never seen anybody else playing it. I've never known anybody else who owns a copy, never seen anyone but myself and people I've played with enjoying it. And I think that's just criminal for such an amazing racing game, and with a unique original setting as well. In the game, each player has a power boat, of course, and you are going to be running around buoys that you set up in a specific way and trying to get back to the starting line, the ending line as well. And you play multiple laps. You can play a single lap if you really wanted to, but you can score multiple laps. And the scores for each successive lap is better than the last. So you can play, say, 3 rounds and then see who did the best overall. The movement is really the coolest part in this game, because what you do is you are going to have a bunch of these 3-sided dice, and they're very cool. And the way movement works in the game is you have your power boat, and you are going to take that power boat and click that power boat one way or the other way on a hex, so 60 degrees. Or you can leave it facing the way it is facing. And then after that, let's say you have 2 dice that you have as your speed. These mark your speed. One is showing a 2, the other one is showing a 1, all right? And then you are going to, before you move, you are allowed to add or remove 1 die and then re-roll those dice. And so it allows you to try to adjust your speed, but you're never quite in complete control, and you really have to be careful for smacking into the land that is spread all over this board. The board has a bunch of obstacles on it, really, and so you need to be really careful what you do. Sometimes you want to just gun it down what appears to be a clearing, but you better be careful because that end's going to sneak up on you, and if you go up a bunch of dice, you're rolling 4 dice, it's going to take you some time to drop back down to a manageable speed, you know, so you're not just barreling towards a sand dune or something. And so I really like it. The board is modular. It's a really good looking board. The components are wonderful. I love these dice. I love everything about the look of the game. A really wonderful racing game, one I've enjoyed a lot. If you can get your hands on this one, I very much recommend it. An awesome, awesome racing game. Power boats, cool theme, great look, and hey, sometimes you just smash into stuff. That's how it happens. All right, everybody. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Boom, 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 boom.
Howdy gamers, time once again for Buy, Try, or Deny. I'm Indiana John. Today's episode of Board Game Blender is all about racing games, and so I'm coming to you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home of the Indianapolis 500, the greatest spectacle in racing. Every year more than 500,000 people come and fill the stands here at the IMS to watch a bunch of really cool race cars go fast and turn left. But in the realm of board games, there's a lot of other ways that you can define racing games. It's not necessarily just about cars going fast. And so for today's Buy, Try, or Deny, I've selected 3 games that are very, very different, but all fits in some way into the category of racing games. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines! Today's buy game is not only a great racing game, but it's also one of my favorite dexterity games, and that is Pitch Car. It's actually one that I oddly don't have in my collection, but this is a game about flicking a little wooden disc around a track and trying to be the first person across the finish line. It's a cool customized track, and there's great potential for cool shots and fiery crashes. Well, not really real fiery, but it's a whole lot of fun, and all my friends really enjoy it. So much so that we have a yearly invitational tournament for Pitch Car where we have costumes, we have individual theme music for each of the drivers, we even give out a really cool trophy. There's even these customizable track pieces that my friends have built that have cool jumps and crazy stuff like that. So we've really sort of decked it out. But the base game is fantastic. It's a great game that can get everybody involved because it's a dexterity game, so it's not really for gamers or for non-gamers, it's for everybody. So I'd highly recommend that you go out and enjoy some racing goodness with Pitch Car, or its little brother, which costs a little bit less money, Pitch Car Mini. Some racing games are about racing physically around a board, while others are about racing the clock. That's exactly what you're doing in our try game today, Escape, the Curse of the Temple. In this game, you're cooperatively and simultaneously rolling dice in real time to try to get the combinations that you need to move around the temple, place gems in certain spots in the temple, so that you can eventually roll the combination that you need to escape. Now this game runs on a 10-minute timer that comes with the game on a CD that's included, or you can also download it onto the device of your choice. But that's the only time that you have is 10 minutes. You're frantically rolling dice, racing the clock to try to get out. Now this is only a try for me because I personally enjoy this kind of a game, but some people find it way too stressful, and just the stress and pressure of having to roll those dice simultaneously, it's just too much for them. So some of the people that I played with have not enjoyed this game. But what I would say is that it's only 10 minutes. So if this is a 30-minute game with that kind of pressure, I probably wouldn't enjoy it either. But for me, I really, really do like it, and so I'd recommend you give a try to Escape, the Curse of the Temple. Today's Deny game is part of a category of games that everyone seems to love to hate, and that is the roll and move game. And this time we're talking about Action Princesses, which is a kids game that's in the Dicecapades line. And when I saw this at Gen Con, I was really excited about getting it to play with my young daughter, because it's about princesses who are rescuing a prince, and you're trying to race around the board to be the first one to rescue the prince. And so I thought that would be really a lot of fun. You have to do little activities that are fun for kids, like making words and doing trivia questions that they'll like, going through mazes. And it has all those things in it, but it also has some really dumb cards in it that will just cause you to lose turns for no apparent reason. And even though I wasn't looking for the deepest strategic experience here, I was looking for a game where you were rewarded for doing good things and penalized for not doing good things. And in this game, it was just way too random. And even for a kid, I think it wasn't really that much fun. So got to give the Deny this time to Action Princesses. Well, there you have it. Our Deny game, Action Princesses. That one kind of got disqualified. Our try game, Escape, The Curse of the Temple, and our fantastic buy game, Pitch Car, or if you want to spend a little less money, Pitch Car Mini. So that about wraps it up for Buy, Try, or Deny, coming to you from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the gaming capital of the world. Until next time, game on.
Hello folks, welcome to Corner Chat. Today we have with us Orin Bishop, and he will be talking about his new game, Steampunk Rally from Roxley Games. Welcome to the show, Orin.
Hey Mark.
Steampunk Rally is a rather unique racing game where you're building your vehicles during the course of the race. How did this evolve during the design process?
Yeah, I love steampunk since before I knew what it was called, and there's all kinds of games that use the art style, which is really cool, but I didn't really feel like there was anything out there that did steampunk, the way that I envisioned a steampunk game being. So that was sort of one of my central goals of this, is like I want to try to capture the essence of steampunk in the mechanics.
So I'm a big theme guy, if you didn't know, and I love the fact that you chose to go with steampunk theme. Was this always the case, or did you apply different or other themes early on?
Well, the theme was basically the thing that I had right off the top. I knew that it was a really cool idea, and it was just a matter of trying to figure out mechanics that worked with that. So early on, it had very different mechanics. It had a system where you chose how many spaces you move, and then you would roll dice and take stress points and things like that. Very different system, and it wasn't until recently that I came up with the dice placement that kind of made everything come together. But in terms of the theme, it was basically always that.
So what are some of your favorite vehicle designs? Any building tips you can share?
I don't want to spoil too much of the strategy. I guess a general tip that I'd give is to think about your machine parts are going to be worth more earlier on in the game, because you're going to have them for more turns. So generally I'm a little more careful about damage in the early turns, and then by the end I get a little more reckless, and in later turns it's really okay to let stuff fall off your machine because you're not going to get that much use out of it. The other thing I'd say is sometimes it's useful to keep some movement parts sort of fresh and unused on your machine, and you can sort of hold on to those for your big final push rather than hoping that you'll draft something useful in the last couple turns.
Okay, so what are some of your inspirations for creating Steampunk Rally, and what are some of your favorite racing games?
I guess one of my inspirations early on was sort of this idea of like a reality show, like Junkyard Wars or The Amazing Race or something like that. And it would just be, those shows could be amazing if you sort of suspended the laws of physics a little bit. So, instead of hacking together an old Ford, you're hacking together this crazy spider tank thing. And, over this epic multi-leg journey, kind of like those Magnificent Men and their flying machines and that kind of thing. So that was sort of one of my main inspirations. Galaxy Trucker, definitely. Actually, when I played that game, I was kind of like, oh, somebody already did this. But then I sort of realized that what I wanted to do was a little bit different than that. So I guess, yeah, I guess there are some similarities with Galaxy Trekker, and it's definitely an inspiration and a favorite racing game of mine. But I think I'm maybe going for slightly different things than Galaxy Trekker. So I think there's room in the board game world for both. And I guess in terms of other racing games and inspirations, I always, one of the first Euro games I ever played was Carcassonne, and it struck me as really odd because at the time I didn't know any of these conventions and things, and I found it odd that there was this nice, beautiful, lavish scoring track, and you don't do anything with it. It's literally just to keep score. You could easily do that with a pad and a pen, but so I sort of thought there was some design space that wasn't explored there. So I guess like Steampunk Rally is kind of an engine building Euro, but you're building a literal engine, and instead of a VP track, you've got this race track with crazy things on it.
Great. Okay. So do you have anything new in the works that you can share?
Yeah, I've got a number of projects on the go. I've got another game actually set in the same universe as Steampunk Rally, and we have a Steampunk Rally expansion that I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say when we're going to do a Kickstarter on that, but it is well under development, and there's been some really positive receptions on some of the new stuff so far. I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do with that.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Orin. It was great to have you here.
Cheers.
And folks, thanks for watching, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Hey guys, Tiff here, and this week we're talking about racing games. There are a lot of these games out there, but very few seem to have gone over well with my board game club kids. I wondered if they were just disinterested with generic racing themes, so I had them try out a racing game that doesn't look like a racing game, namely Jamaica. Jamaica is a very easy to teach simultaneous action selection game with beautiful artwork and a fun theme. It plays from 2 to 6 players who take on the roles of pirates racing around the island of Jamaica, collecting golden treasure, while at the same time keeping a close eye on their enemies. At the start of every round, the captain rolls 2 dice and decides which to place in the morning and night spaces on the board. These dice values will correspond to actions the players choose to take. There are 5 possible actions: move forward, move backward, take coins, take food, or take gunpowder. Each player has a hand of 3 cards, each featuring 2 actions, one on the left for day and one on the right for night. Once everyone selects a card to play, they'll reveal and resolve their day actions first, followed by the night actions. For instance, if this is my card, I would move forward 3 as my day action and collect 5 food for my night action. As you gain resources, they'll go in your ship's cargo holds. Every player starts out with 5 holds, but this can be expanded. If all of your holds are full and you gain more items, you must clear out a space for them, and it's important for you to keep a good supply of resources because some of the spaces on the board will require you to pay food or doubloons to land there. There are also treasure chest tokens on the islands throughout the board. The first person to travel to these locations gets to draw a treasure card, which can provide gunpowder, extra cargo holds, victory points, or even cursed treasure, aka negative victory points. If you move onto a space that contains another pirate ship, you'll do combat. Each player decides how much gunpowder to commit and then rolls the die. The gunpowder is added to the die value and the highest number wins the battle. The winner gets to steal cargo or treasure from the loser. The game ends when the first pirate has raced all the way around back to Port Royal. At that point, players will add their treasure and coins to the point value of the space they ended on. If a player ends up behind the red line on the board, their slowness is rewarded with 5 negative points. Of course, the player with the highest points wins. I think Jamaica is a very solid racing game for teenagers. It has all the excitement of a race, everyone vying for position, mixed in with a little take-that interaction which they really enjoy. The game manages to avoid the runaway problem that many race games have because it's really about being a better pirate rather than taking first place. As long as you don't fall too far behind and manage your cargo holds well, you will have a shot of winning in the end. Of course, coming in first and staying ahead of the pack will give you more opportunities for treasure, but I like it that there's at least some suspense at the very end. If you're looking for a heavy dose of pirate theme in a game that plays under an hour, this is the one. Check it out, and I'll see you back next time.
And that is our show, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. A big thank you, as always, to my contributors. They are amazing. And hopefully I will see you again in 2 weeks for our Thanksgiving episode, which I am calling Games We Are Thankful For. Check that out in a couple of weeks. And as always, hey, stay a friend of the blend. I'll see you.